Are we ready to go up in the control room? 5 minutes, funny, Deb Brucker. I'm going to turn my thing onto airplane mode. Are we live? We're good to go. We're getting the thumbs up. All right, well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to a second day of this event. For those of you online, welcome. And it's my pleasure to release the 2018 Annual Disability Statistics Compendium. We also have the Compendium Supplement, which is supplemental tables by other demographic, breaking down by demographic characteristics. And we have the new annual, a revised annual report. Oops. First, I'd like to do a few housekeeping things. For those of you in the room, the bathrooms are out that way. There's also food downstairs. There's an at-cost, very good cafeteria downstairs. The Wi-Fi is visitor. Click on connect. Go to your browser. Sometimes it has to be Internet Explorer. And go to www.nas.edu and click on access the internet. You should be able to get onto Wi-Fi. If you're having troubles with Wi-Fi, Upfront will help you do so. Also, as a housekeeping, it's probably good if you go to disabilitycompendium.org if you have a device here, or getting my picture taken. You have a device here, or if you're at home or in the office connecting online. We'll be referring to these documents, and you may want to peruse them while you do. The people in the room, there are paper copies outside, except the supplement is so big and thick, we only make a few copies of that. So, without further ado, I'd like to thank NIDILRR for their support of the Rehabilitation Research and Training Center on Disability Statistics. We're happy to do this event again this year. This year we've expanded to the afternoon. This is usually a morning event, but over the years, we've thought, we're bringing people together. We're coming down to DC from New Hampshire, and a lot of our collaborators from Kessler Foundation, John O'Neill in front here, and Mathematica Policy Research are here and come down for the day. Let's expand this. And then let's think about how we could expand it by focusing on specific topics. And this year's topic is intellectual and developmental disability and data collection and data utilization for that subpopulation of people with disabilities. Next year, we'll probably focus on rural, I believe. Each year, we're going to try to fold in new topics and expand this day. And so if you're interested in participating, particularly in the afternoon sessions, which are the open sessions, let me know and give us a call. Even organizing a panel in your specific area, whether it's mental health or rural statistics or urban statistics, please let us know. Also my pleasure to introduce Phil Beatty from NIDILRR. Phil is the Deputy something of research. He's so shy, he doesn't want me to do his full bio, and plus I forgot to bring the bio up. So he is got his PhD in sociology from American University. Phil and I met years ago on site visits for grant review, and if you don't know, grant review is one of the places. It's very important for all of us to be active in grant review for NIDILRR and to volunteer to do grant review, and you learn a lot, and you get to know the project officers and administrators at NIDILRR. It's a really great, I'm giving you a plug, Phil, because getting high quality peer reviewers is really important. And of course, everybody attending here is high quality. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Phil.
Thank you, Andrew, and really thanks to the RRTC team for inviting NIDILRR to give a few opening remarks. It was an open invitation with no limitations placed on what we could or should say. So I'm going to take a few detours here this morning before I'm done, but in the end, I hope to bring us back home and get the agenda kicked off right. So yes, welcome to everyone here in the room and online. I want to take a couple of minutes to reflect on the work of the Disability Statistics Center and the value of their work over the years. Going back to 1990, if not earlier, NIDILRR has funded a center, a national center on disability statistics. And the value and the importance of disability statistics has been highlighted in NIDILRR's long-range plan, going back at least a couple of decades. Over the years, the Disability Statistics Center has been a resource for people with disabilities, service providers, program administrators, advocates, lawmakers, and researchers who need to know the hard numbers that characterize the populations and the subpopulations of people with disability and their experiences and outcomes in the real world. The center has been a resource for researchers who are working hard to conceptualize and measure disability in appropriate ways in their studies. The center has been a central point of contact and a resource for the network of federal experts and offices who are conceptualizing, measuring, and maintaining disability data. Recent advances in disability measurement at the federal level has come as a result of a lot of interagency teamwork, but the RRTC on disability statistics has been an important part of that team. If NIDILRR's RRTC wasn't centralizing disability information from a wide range of sources, no other entity has or feels responsibility to pull this information together into one place. The data would be scattered in disparate places and difficult to find, understand, and use. So we appreciate all the work that the RRTC does and the support they provide and the centralized compilation of disability data. It's really invaluable. The compendium that's being released today is a great resource. The release of the compendium is also just a great opportunity to get a wide range of experts together to talk about methodological advances in disability measurement and data collection, and Andrew spoke to that briefly, and there's going to be some really great panels later this afternoon, and there is a lot of good news about these ongoing advances in disability measurement and data collection. So with all of that in mind, I do want to take a step back and offer a few reflections for a couple of minutes. This last year has been a big year for NIDILRR. Just about 4 months ago in October, we celebrated our 40th anniversary. And just 2 weeks ago, NIDILRR released its most recent iteration of its long-range plan. It's our plan that's in effect from 2018, roughly, to 2023. So these milestones have given us some reason and some opportunity to reflect on where we've been and to think about where we're going.
Point it towards the...
Oh.
Are you pushing the green?
Yeah, the green. There we are.
There we go.
Okay. So disability statistics. I want to start by unpacking the key terms and the concepts that underpin today's event. The first is our conceptualization of disability, and NIDILRR has long adhered to the social model definition of disability. And very basically, disability is the product of the individual and all of her or his characteristics, and the characteristics of the environment in which the person lives. It's a basic definition, it's a basic equation. So the next word here in the topic that we're gathered here today to learn more about is statistics. And it's useful to take a close look at the basic definition of statistics. I pulled, this was the first definition that Google gave me when I looked for definition of statistics. But if you look at all of them that come up, and I did, they all say roughly this. The practice or science of collecting and analyzing numerical data in large quantities, especially for the purpose of inferring proportions in a whole from those in a representative sample. So most of us at this meeting in particular learn statistics in social science or social service departments, and we study statistics focusing on human samples and populations. The basic definition of statistics, however, really says nothing about the unit of analysis. So the unit of analysis could be humans, automobiles, homes, cities, counties, maybe stars or supernovas if you're an astrophysicist. There is a delay here.
Is it a delay?
Sorry.
Are you sure it's a delay or just funky?
Okay, so back to disability. In developing our recently published long-range plan, we did take the occasion to look back at our earlier long-range plans. And we looked back at these earlier plans for some wisdom and guidance and conceptual guidance moving forward. 2 decades ago, in our plan that took us from 1999 to 2003, we said that disability is a product of an interaction between individual characteristics and the characteristics of the natural, built, cultural, and social environments. In going through our historic documents, we also found copies of early precursors to today's disability statistics compendium. Do you all remember these documents? Does anyone remember these documents? This goes back to 1993. NIDILRR at the time used to publish these documents in cardstock. And we used to put address labels on them, put postage on them, and mail them out. I mean, that's how we did it back then. And we still have a number of these kind of hanging around the office. So it's fun to look back at these and again, take a close look at the concepts and the information in these precursor documents to today's compendium. In this particular document, the opening paragraph also highlights NIDILRR's adherence to the social model. Just before jumping into pages of really in-depth statistical data about the population of people with disabilities, the opening sentence and the opening words of this disability statistics abstract states that disability is highly related to social and environmental conditions. The 50 states and the District of Columbia differ widely. In response to some of these differences, the rate of disability can be expected to vary by region and from state to state. Obvious, but worth noting. Now, in this same document, buried in a footnote that's probably only been read a dozen times, maybe 24 times in the life of this document, I found what to me was a really profound and thoughtful and honest statement. Statistics presented have negligible sampling error, but non-sampling error may arise. Comparisons and relationships discussed may be affected by other unanalyzed factors. So we're all aware that there is almost no end of unmeasured and unanalyzed factors in the research we conduct and the models that we run. Our models are often underspecified, particularly underspecified in our characterization of the environments in which we live. But we kind of know that, but we claim parsimony and we move forward happily.
Happily?
I think so. I think we're proud of our parsimony.
That's true.
So, just looking at this year's compendium of approximately 80 tables in the 2018 compendium, 4 of the tables provide data that was collected at the environmental level. Now, this isn't a knock on the disability compendium. It's really not. The compendium is chock full of variables that we've become really good at measuring. And it's critical that we continue to measure these variables with our to measure them really well. It's critical that we do, so this isn't a knock. The point just highlights the fact that the field of disability statistics and disability research isn't yet very good at measuring or keeping track of the variables that describe the environments where we live. Despite our long adherence to the social model of disability, we aren't good at understanding and keeping track of what our environments are like and whether our environments are disabling or enabling. So this next slide, I just made some stuff up, just daydreamed and brainstormed some potential environmental level variables that we could think about doing some more measurement around. The first is in the area of policy. We could just make a point of quantifying and putting down in tables the extent to which specific state or local level policies are in place within jurisdictions. The 4 tables that I highlighted on environmental level variables that are in the compendium, they're in this first category. Another potential set of variables related to service delivery, the extent to which specific service delivery practices exist or are available within jurisdictions. Physical accessibility, I think we could get really creative here, given the computing power that's available to us. Given the Google car that drives around and looks at our front doors and the residences where we live, why couldn't we?
We're not Google.
Not Google, right, we don't have the resources to do that, but somebody does. Somebody does. So we could take a look at the percentage of homes in a jurisdiction with no front steps. There is data available where we could compile a ratio of elevators to livable floors within a jurisdiction. Would give us some sense of physical accessibility. Transportation, healthcare, there's similar ways of potentially thinking about and conceptualizing information within jurisdictions about transportation systems and about healthcare availability. So really just dreaming here, but for those of you who don't know, the U.S. Census Bureau conducts a census of governments every 5 years. It's unclear on the screen, but the point on this slide is the U.S. Census Bureau, every 5 years, they collect data from nearly 36,000 cities and townships, almost 13,000 school districts, and over 3,000 counties. The variables that are collected are almost all financial, specifically revenues and expenditures in broad categories, like public welfare expenditures, transit expenditures, education expenditures. So these line items could potentially be broken down to include subcategories of expenditures relevant to different subpopulations of people with disabilities. It would take lots of resources and years of discussions that we haven't even thought about starting them yet. But who knows? It's worth thinking about. There are vehicles, censuses of jurisdictions, places, governments. They've been fielded. Takes a lot of resources, but they've been fielded. So just wrapping up, please join the discussion with us as we head into the next 4 decades of influential disability research. Our goal should be to reduce the number of unmeasured and unanalyzed factors in the disability equation, many of which and most of which are still found at the environmental level, I would argue. So doing this and with more focus and attention on the environmental level, we really do think that it'll open up new avenues for generating research-based knowledge that can be used to maximize outcomes, maximize the outcomes of people with disabilities, and to maximize the accessibility of the places where we live. So thank you for humoring me and thinking about these reflections that we've been putting together since we had our 40th anniversary a couple of months ago, and just thinking a little more deeply about what we're up to and what our potential is as a field to really move outcomes in the coming years and decade at least. So thank you.